Hey guys, Ted Bogert with the Ted Show. We're back. I'm very honored and humbled and excited to have this guest on today, Carla Bass. Hi, Carla.
Hello, Ted.
Welcome. I'm so excited. You have such a great topic, a great presence. You served our country. Thank you so much for that. And you have a great message you want to talk about. Powerful writing changes lives, and talk about that whole journey of how you have made this your next part of life, right? So, but
Oh, yeah.
you've been doing it a long time. So, enough of me talking. Tell them a little bit about you.
All right. I served 30 years active duty in the Air Force. I followed my father's footsteps. He also served 30 years active duty Air Force. So serving the country and Air Force in particular is in my blood. I chose that course of action, Air Force intelligence, specifically when I was in 7th grade. And I never looked back. Didn't regret a second. Would do it over again in a heartbeat if I could.
That's amazing. Most people don't know what they want to do when they're old. I can't imagine knowing what I want to do in 7th grade.
Well, it was curiosity got me. This is during the Vietnam War, and my mother kept wagging her finger at me saying, don't ask your father anything about what he does because he can't tell you. And she did that once too often. I thought, well, blast it. I'll just join Air Force intelligence myself and find out. And that's precisely what I did. My father.
Awesome.
My father commissioned me, and he gave me 3 pieces of advice as I swore and said the I do. The first piece of advice was always take care of your people. They'll take care of you. The second was stay focused on the mission, put blinders on, don't get caught up in office politics and so forth. And the third was keep your sense of humor. And I've followed those words to this very day. So that was more decades than I care to count. But that's actually what prompted me on the current journey that I'm on with Right to Influence.
So yes, so tell us about that. And by the way, what an amazing moment that must have been for your dad to do your swearing in. Like I got chills thinking about it. It's amazing.
He also swore me in when I pinned on my colonels, my eagle, the colonel rank. He was in a VA hospital at that time, and a speech therapist worked with him for 6 months so that he could actually utter the oath of office. And that's another one of those. I'll never, ever forget that memories.
That is amazing.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. So
choked up. Yeah. So tell us about Right to Influence. Tell us how we got, because this has been a program you've been working on. This isn't just all of a sudden you had a moment, you just started and now you're promoting. You've really made this part of your life.
It's in my soul. It is a way to describe it. When I was a lieutenant colonel, I was a squadron commander in Hawaii. I was responsible for 480 super talented young men and women. When I arrived at that assignment, the unit was the most losing unit in statewide professional quarterly and annual awards. And what I discovered pretty soon is it wasn't because these young people didn't deserve to win. They were super, super talented. It's because their bosses couldn't write winning packages. So you could be the most brilliant captain or staff sergeant, but because your boss can't tell your story, you lose all these awards. So I took 3 days, sequestered myself in a beach cabin, analyzed my writing, and that's how I developed what I call the word sculpting tools, which is part 2 of my book, Right to Influence. I turned that into about an 18, maybe 20-page, really rough handbook, taught my guys how to write, and we started sweeping the awards. I mean, we became the unit to beat instead of the joke that they always lost. What blew me away, though, was that the other units asked if I could teach them to, I had no idea the vacuum that existed Air Force-wide. And so for the next 15 years, wherever I went, to whatever assignments, word sculpting and this workshop followed me. It became a labor of love. So what I learned out of that 324th experience, a couple of things. First, I saw how powerful writing changes lives. I mean, you could be the best, but if somebody tells a better story for you, whether it's for getting a grant or a promotion or input to your performance review, they win because they told a better story. Right. I learned that powerful writing is the lifeblood of effective organizations. If you want to defend a budget or make a case for expanding a budget or win a contract bid, I learned that leadership is a fundamental, I mean, not leadership, writing is a fundamental leadership tool because it all cuts straight to the chase of communicating clearly with focus, precision, and force. So I learned so much, and that was the beginning of Right to Influence.
How did you create that? It's one thing to have the brainchild, which you did, and then it's another thing to implement, to really develop it and flesh it out so that it can be a workshop. Did you have trial and error? Did you kind of apply some of your thoughts on it and saw the amazing results? Obviously, your team, your squadron, they saw the results and were probably flabbergasted because they always had, like you said, they always had the talent, but nobody was. It wasn't being showcased properly because of the writing.
Yeah, that initial workshop was easy. I mean, there was no difficulty there, whatever. I just took the book and used the examples and started teaching it. The difficult part was when I retired from the Air Force, I diddled with the idea for about 5 years, and it got to a point where I had to decide either do it, get off your butt and do it, or flush it. And right. When I say it was in my soul, it really was. And because I had received so many testimonials from so many people over the years, Colonel Bass, if it hadn't been for, I wouldn't have been able to. I could not flush it. I had to write the book. And then the challenge for me then was I had to expunge all of the Air Force examples and expand it so that it spoke to contemporary civilian audiences, people already in business, academia, high school kids, corporations. And that took about 2 years of coming up with all of there's 200 exercises in the book, before, after, and analysis. And it took a bit of effort to do that. And then the second edition just had its first birthday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Its second edition is 70 pages longer, and it contains all of the material that I developed for multiple workshops. There's a new chapter on writing grants, on writing an elevator speech, one on the essay for college applications. So I've been teaching like crazy for the last 2 years, and I put all of that into the second edition.
Tell me about writing in this day and age, because we are in a world where there's a lot of abbreviations for things. People like to put "Are you okay?" and it's the letter U, the letter R, okay. So it feels like we have broken it down and made it smaller. And that's not necessarily the best way for people to communicate, to have the powerful change like you're talking about.
Well, and especially if you're trying to write reputably in a business environment, that what you just described doesn't work. So there are a couple things that are wrong, and these are areas that I try to help correct. One I categorize as bureaucratic blather, and I'm going to read you. This is an example of how bad things have gotten. The briefing addressed the Information System Security Management Plan development. You just scratch your head over that. That I characterize as nouns upon nouns upon nouns upon nouns. It's gibberish. It hurts your ears. And then the other major flaw is people tend to write as they speak, and they don't go back and edit it out. They don't revise it. So when we say you have to get your staff up to speed on blah blah, it's not get your staff up to speed. It's you have to inform your staff. So formal, concise, precise.
Do you think people I would imagine there's pushback on that, even though it's wrong, because it's, we don't even write in script anymore. So there's so many lost arts, and writing, I feel like, is one of them that we have been losing the battle with. You get pushback on it, but you have the proof, and you have the proof in the pudding of actually seeing it work.
Oh, exactly. But if you look at it from the reader's perspective, we've all been on the receiving end of this. The email that you have to read somebody's email 5 times to divine what it is they're trying to convey because it's so poorly written. So what I teach, I think in terms of an inverted triangle. Okay, you got it? Inverted triangle. The top of the triangle is where I teach you how to strategize your message, how to make the detail pop, how to prioritize what you're trying to say, how to strategize it. The bottom part of the triangle is where you hone the draft with my 10 word sculpting tools. So every single word counts. The thing is, people need to recognize that every author, no matter what you're writing, is constrained by two things. You're constrained by the recipient's time. Tick, tick, I'm busy. What do you want? Make it say. And you're constrained by space, whether it's a web page, the above the fold, or if it's a government form with a demarcated area, or if it's with a limitation, you're limited to 1 page, 2 page, 50 words, 45 spaces. So the author who can best leverage time and space wins. And so that's what my strategies and that's what the word sculpting tools help you to do, is maximize that opportunity.
I feel like I'm a wordy person. Well, in this day and age, I'm a wordy person. When I write, I feel like I explain everything really well. I get pushed back because I take too long to explain it, or they don't have their perspective, or their perception is, wow, I just looked, this is 2 paragraphs. I only like to read 1, so I don't want to read it anymore. And so people are like, can't you just give me the bullet points? Can't you give me the outline? So talk about that, because I think a lot of people who do write and understand how powerful it is, the audience isn't used to accepting that kind of writing anymore.
Well, going back to the thought that everybody is busy, and especially in the business environment where literally seconds and words count, time is money is not an ineffective cliche. So what you just referred to is what I call don't bury the golden nugget. If you have 5 minutes of the audience's time and you've got 8 or 10 points, which are the most important points to convey in that 5 minutes? What would you be sick to your stomach if you hadn't gotten that point across? So that's what that strategy, you triage the information. I have to tell them 1, 2, 3, 4. If I don't get to 5, 6, and 7, okay, but they did get 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then again, to maximize the time, the more concisely you can convey that, the more items fall above the cut line, just like a budget.
What were you surprised when you were working on it and taking out the Air Force lingo and making it toward the civilian business life? After serving 30 years in the military, what were some of the things you were surprised that you met, or some of the obstacles trying to reach the business community?
I think I was surprised the most at how much bureaucratic blather had infused itself into daily correspondence, where you seriously have to read a paragraph 3 or 4 times to try to unravel this massive spaghetti to determine what they're trying to say. I didn't realize things had gotten so bad. And something else that's happened, you and I, we're of the same age, I think, but when we were going through school, we were taught sentence diagramming. We had a strong foundation in grammar. We were taught how to write with precision and focus. Academia, I think, has stopped teaching that about 15 years ago. And so if you look at the age or the rank of people that seem to be having the most difficulty, it began with people in their 30s and then maybe 35. And continue. So you can actually, like counting the rings on a tree, you can actually determine where it was that the education system stopped teaching this kind of concise writing. And therefore,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Students graduating, they come out learning how to write fat instead of writing skinny. And that's precisely the wrong skill when they get into the business environment. They're like roadkill.
Define that. What does that mean?
Okay, writing fat is if you're given a homework assignment, give me a 5,000 word paper. The instinctive reaction is, okay, a little bit of meat, a little bit of research, and then lots of fluff, and I can make the 5,000 word. That's exactly backwards from what you should do.
It's fascinating. You're right. That's where we get trained on that part of it, is that we stretch. We find every word known to man to make those sentences as long as possible to hit the 5,000.
Exactly.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, you find tangential information, whether or not it helps advance your case, you cram that in there because it's going to get you over the 5,000 word threshold. But every time you do that, you lose the opportunity to develop your word sculpting muscle. Now, let me explain word sculpting really quickly.
Please.
If you have, all right, poof, you're a sculptor. You're in Paris. You've got the beret, you've got the hammer and chisel, and a 6-foot chunk of marble. Because you're a master sculptor, you know the image that's dormant in that marble. So you go chisel, 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 and away goes the scrap. There's your Venus de Milo. Same thing with word sculpting, except instead of the marble, you've got your first draft. So sentence by sentence, you apply my 10 word sculpting tools and you chisel out the useless words, the redundancies, the words that hog space, the words that make no sense, so that every single word counts. And you go from 10 pages of stuff to 5 pages of hard-hitting information. Now, somebody's going to say, oh, crap, now I have to write 5 more pages of stuff. Wrong perspective. You just gained 5 more pages of opportunity to keep making your case, whether it's for that job or for that grant or for that budget. You've just bought yourself more opportunity. So it takes some effort to write powerfully, but it's a lifelong skill. You learn how to do this once, it pays dividends for your entire life. Even bloggers, even fiction. Nobody likes to read wordy, boring fiction. Give me a Daniel Silva or David Kuntz anytime.
Right. All right. I have to ask, you mentioned something about an elevator speech. And I think that is one of the greatest weaknesses of any event I'm ever at, when we start having events again, or any kind of conversation where I'm meeting someone, or I have to listen to them introduce what their business is. And so one of my pet peeves is that usually it's too long, or it doesn't give me enough information, and I haven't found the the porridge in the middle that's just right. So why did you focus on that, and how did you come up with tools to help people create it?
Part of that was retrospective. I mean, any burgeoning author needs to have an elevator speech. Someone comes up and says, "What's your book about?" Boom, deliver it in 30 seconds. You're going in for a job interview. The question is, why should I hire you? Boom, you should have this on the tip of your tongue and practice it in a closet someplace, so that when you actually have to deliver it, it just flows smoothly with all of the enthusiasm and gusto needed. So in the book, I explain to people, I use the problem, solution, benefit approach. Here's the problem, concise. Here's a solution, concise, and here's how you benefit. So if you take that formula and then the strategies and put in the details and the word sculpted, that's how you get the elevator speech.
I love it. I think it's so important, because people really do, because of our attention spans or lack thereof, that elevator speech is really sometimes the only opportunity you get for somebody to make a decision whether they're going to listen to you for the next little bit, mm-hmm. or even want to do business with you or hang out with you at the event or get to know you. And so people really don't put enough emphasis on making sure you know how to explain. If you're going to take 25 minutes to explain to me your book, you've lost me in about 2 minutes in, if on a good day.
Yep. Well, everybody's like, you're either a fisherman or a fish. And from my perspective, you are all fishermen. You have to know the audience. That's another cardinal rule. Know the audience. How is the audience going to benefit from what you offer? What language does the audience speak? Is it PhD level, or is it beginning kindergarten level? And speak in the appropriate terms, and make sure you've got the hook baited. Why do they care? How will they benefit? What will they gain? Instead of, hey, buy my book, it's great, or hire me because I can do this stuff. Wrong perspective. How will you benefit? I can help you buy. You can benefit from my product by.
I love that. I think that more people need to retool how they approach all of this, because I feel like we're, and I want to ask you about it, we've moved into a new unprecedented phase in our world, COVID, then sort of post-COVID. I don't even know where we're at, but we've had to change the way pivot the way we do business. And so how have you done that? And maybe that'll give them some examples of how to do it, because you're used to, you want to do workshops and you want to engage with people and have people have you help them with their problems and their programs and their processes. But it's different now. So how have you pivoted?
I am old dog, new tricks. I am learning to do it by webinar. Okay. And you have no choice. My goal is not to sell books. It never has been. My goal is to help people. And my writing methodology works. It's proven, and I've got all the testimonials. So that's my goal, is to get that word out somehow. How have I done it? Webinars, podcasts. I've written just a plethora of articles on the benefit of writing a post-interview thank you note, on how to go in and strategize the interview conversation before you even walk in the door. I've written like dozens of articles and different podcasts, TV interviews, radio interviews, and all of that is on the media page of my website, the website www.writetoinfluence.net. But on that media page is essentially a virtual, well, it's a virtual library of information that I've produced on various topics. So that's what I've been doing. I also developed a program whereby I'll do individual counseling for either a person or for a company, teaching them this writing methodology, but using products they provide me. I did that for a government agency, Department of the Interior. They provided me their material, and I used that with before, after analysis, so they could see the methodology displayed on their own products. And the light bulb, this is why I miss the in-person workshops. I love the interaction with people. I love that aha moment. So yeah, we all just have to learn how to do
tougher
things
to catch. It's tougher to catch that aha moment. Like, this is such a, thank God we have this yes. platform and Zoom. When I use Zoom until I found this, and I still use Zoom. But I feel like you're right, that aha moment, it's just, there's nothing like it in person. And it's super hard when you've got like 9 people in a Brady Bunch box and you don't really see faces and you can't see smiles and you can't see that aha moment. I want to give a quick shout out. Nadia has been blowing up the comments. Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, everybody who's been tuning in. I appreciate, and Carla and I will both go back in and respond, I promise. All right, tell us what you do before we head out. Tell us what you do or have done personally, not for Right to Influence, or maybe, to stay sane, to stay creative during the lockdown and during the pivot and the shift.
Well, my life is kind of like 2 aspects. One is on furlough. I work for the government still. I've been on furlough until the world reawakens. But I bake. I adore baking. Southern living, go Southern living. But I have another project, and daily I've been working this. I'm transforming the entire book into a web-based class. This is a huge project. It's one that I had wanted to tackle for a couple of years, but not until COVID hit and I ended up with this 4-month time was I able to work on it. The other thing that I love doing is power walks down country gravel roads. I mean, and I've got you're going to laugh, my Robert Goulet CD. I carry a CD Walkman, and I was doing that like every other day until this week when I took a tremendous fall. And
sorry.
And so I'm recovering now, but I'll be
doing
back
that. Robert Goulet, love Robert that. Haven't heard that name in so long. I forgot about Robert Goulet.
Well,
all right, how can people reach out to you, learn more about your webinars, learn more about the book, learn more about you? What's the best way for them to reach you?
They can email me at Carla at writetoinfluence.net. That WRITE toinfluence.net. I'm on LinkedIn. It's Carla D. Bass at LinkedIn. Tweet, it's Carla D. Bass Write, WRITE. Instagram, it's at Write_TO_influence, and Facebook is Right to Influence 01.
Yes.
But I would be glad to help That's why I'm doing that.
I
It's
love it.
truly in my soul.
You can tell when somebody has a real passion because it's palpable. I mean, you could feel it. And so I loved hearing you speak about it. And it's such a, to me, I call it the lost art, even though I know there's amazing people like you out there who are promoting the power of writing. I wish I could get more people to understand how powerful that can be, and what a perfect time this has been to get used to that, to fine tune it, to engage it, and to open your eyes to it. So I want people to definitely go to write to influence.net or email Carla at writetoinfluence.net. Thank you so much for being on the show and for all you do.
This was a hoot. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. All right, guys, reach out to Carla. She's just as amazing working with you as she is on the show. We'll see you guys later. Have a great one.